So, as we started looking at larger data sets to ask what's actually driving this problem for people, why did you get Alzheimer's? And of course, that's been the big problem. People simply say, we don't know why you have Alzheimer's, we don't know what causes it. What we found is there are people that have more of an inflammatory set of drivers. So that's type 1 inflammatory. Some it's very different. It's atrophic. They've lost support. Ultimately, Alzheimer's disease in our model is a network insufficiency. And so you have to have support, no surprise, just as you do for your vascular system, et cetera. You need to have a whole set of things that will support your brain. So if you have inflammation, that's type 1. If you have atrophic, so that's removal of support, growth factors, and hormones and nutrients, that's type 2 or atrophic. And then there's a type 1.5, which has actually got some of both, which is driven by glycotoxicity. People who have often metabolic syndrome with a high hemoglobin A1C, with a high HOMA-IR, which is insulin resistance. These people get some inflammation, but they also get a lesser response to insulin. So that's type 1.5 or glycotoxic Alzheimer's. And then type 3 is toxic. There are different people who then have toxins, inorganic toxins, organics, and biotoxins, those three. That's type 3 or toxic. Type 4 then is vascular. There are people where, again, there's just not enough energetic support because of vascular disease. And then type 5 is traumatic. There are people who have this because of typically a previous trauma that can get the process started. They are at increased risk. So those are the different subtypes, and understanding for each person what's driving them helps to get the best outcomes. We want our clinical findings, of course, to inform researchers. Here are the things we should be looking at because we're seeing, for example, an anecdotal change with X, Y, or Z. On the other hand, the research should inform the clinical work, and these ultimately should help each other. And unfortunately, with Alzheimer's, there just hasn't been any way to make this better. You give the various approved drugs, it doesn't make people get better and stay better. So therefore, there hasn't been a good way to say, aha, we know we're on the right track. So what we're doing is simply saying, if you look at the pathophysiology of this disease, if you look at what is actually driving the degenerative process, then you come to the conclusion that it does, and I should say epidemiologists support this, it does have to do with your insulin resistance. That is one of the most common contributors to cognitive decline, Alzheimer's as well as some others, but especially Alzheimer's. And so, and methylation, and you mentioned homocysteine. So in other words, you want to measure the things that are actually driving the process.